Hello, hello, and good evening, everybody. Anaris here with another Starcraft 2 broadcast. Today we're going to be continuing our best of series between GoSuGatored, spawning as the Protoss down in the 6 o'clock position, against Fruitdealer, the Zerg over in the 9 o'clock, here today on Shattered Temple. This is from the Intel Extreme Masters tournament, currently actually was taking place in New York City. Don't think it is anymore. But I'm happy to say I've got tons of replays from that pack, so we're going to look at as many as possible. Now, game number 1 took place on Terminus. Fruitdealer is currently up 1-0. I think that it was handled very well by Fruitdealer, opening up with that 7 pool, delaying his opponent's expansion for so long. Not only did he lose the ability to hold the lower ground, but he lost that forge, he lost the cannon, he forced his opponent to go with a more standard gateway opening, but significantly delayed compared to the small amount of minerals that were lost by going that 7 pool. So overall, I'm really looking for Fruitdealer to just hold on to this lead that he has gained so far, currently 1-0 against GoSuGatored, who down here, let's talk about him for a minute. He actually, I think he did pretty well considering the cards that he was dealt in game number 1. I think that if he hadn't quite committed so much to that Phoenix style play, I mean, 3 Stargates, yes, he was close by air, to his opponent. It was very likely to be facing those Mutas, and I think he handled it fairly well. But 3 Stargates, it really hurt him in the later stage of the game. Yes, he was able to lift off so many of those roaches, but he was not able to do any significant amount of economic damage to his opponent's mineral line. He got in there, he picked off 2 queens, I think 7 drones for the course of the whole game, and that was about it. The rest of the time, he was forced to commit those Phoenix up there as defense for his 3rd base, which eventually fell anyway. I think that if he had committed maybe to High Templar a little bit earlier, yes, 2 base, High Templar, when you got Stalkers, and a whole bunch of sentries, it can be very difficult. But the fact that he did have that 3rd base up, I think that all the Phoenix that he did decide to build, he could have maybe not committed to 3 Stargates worth of Phoenix, and instead throwing in an extra High Templar or 2, it would have helped a lot, especially with the hallucinations. That was something that I really did not see used to great effectiveness during the fights. So GoSuGatored here, I feel like he does have the ability to come out on top. I'm just going to be looking for a little bit of a change in strategy, a little bit more awareness here from both the players. I mean, that being said, Fruitdealer also made 1 or 2 mistakes in game number 1 as well. But let's not spend too much time dwelling on that. Let's actually talk about what we can see here today in game number 2. Close by air on Shattered Temple. I've already got an expansion up. We have 1 base, double gas here. I think that one thing that the Protoss player could do, well, first of all, would be to save his probe. Run, little probey, run! Woo, man, so very close. You always got to root for those probes as they try to get back to base, man. If it was a drone or an SCV, I would do the same exact thing. But anyways, I would like to see a Stargate play here off of this. I think that it would work very well, considering the fact that we do have Overlords kind of floating all around the Protoss base. 1 there, 1 there. Of course, we do have that unit dance back and forth. Fruitdealer trying to see if he can maybe pull these forces out far enough, get him to commit to chasing, so that way he can run in, do some scouting, maybe get that probe. Whoa, very close. Not going to happen, though, as he is going to realize, okay, I'm not really going to be able to commit to that as much as I want. But still, what he really wants to do is he really wants to come up there and scout. Keep in mind, he also has an Overlord down here that will be able to run up into the base, where he will see indeed a Stargate. Now, as far as Fruitdealer is concerned, I don't think we're going to see him open up with that same Muto style of harass. It's just the fact that he knows the Protoss player is likely to take advantage of that close by air spawn position here, and it will most likely have a Stargate. Phoenix obviously extremely powerful against those Mutalisks, so I don't really think we're going to see that. But what we have here is a 2 times delayed expansion for Gatored. Very nice play. Will he block it again? Yes, he does. That is really impressive, I have to say. Fruitdealer, man, pulling out all the stops again. As this expansion, I mean, he's got to get it down at some point there. Okay, there we go. So now we do have that Void Ray going to be coming down. He scouts out, all right, spots that Void Ray, doesn't actually get a chance. You see the Stargate up there. Yeah, I mean, he knows the Stargate's there, but, you know, it helps to know the positioning of it. In the base, kind of help plan for later stages of the game. Now we're around the 7-minute mark where we have that second gas going down, third one as well. The lair is completed. And as far as what he actually has in terms of defense, let's actually pay attention to Fruitdealer here for a while. We see he's got 4 Zerglings, 2 Queens. That's about it. Now, 1 Void Ray versus 1 Queen directly, it gets kind of dangerous, but if you're just going to flat out ignore the Queen, well, your time is pretty much guaranteed to be limited to about as long as we saw now. As this Queen actually just sitting down here like a total boss. She's just like strutting her stuff, man, trying to act all intimidating. We do have a Hydralisk Den coming down. I think this is a great response from Fruitdealer. Again, anticipating that air pressure. I think he knew coming into the lair stage of the game that he was going to be facing off against that, but that Overlord catching wind of that Void Rate just confirmed it. Now, with the robotics facility going down, I think a Warp Prism would be something very interesting. Using it kind of like how we saw Next Sickness do in a previous match. I will try to actually put a link in the video description for you guys to watch that if you have not already done so. Definitely worth a view. The dynamics of it would change a little bit since it is a PvZ, and I think that the Protoss kind of has an idea that he's going to be facing up against that Hydra style of play. That would be something that the Protoss would just kind of anticipate. You know, the natural Zerg response for that is going to be Hydras. So what's good against Hydras? Well, Colossi, get some force fields, get that range upgrade. You could just obliterate those light units. So here we go now with our Fruitdealer. He does have 1 Void Ray over here. Just, again, light harassing. Look at actually at the kills. You see it just got 5 total. Not really a lot. That's mostly just Overlords. I think it picked off 1 Zergling there. But Fruitdealer actually deciding to take this high yield. It is going to put a little bit of a time constraint on the Protoss player, who still is working on getting his natural saturated. We could see at the production tab still working on a little bit in terms of drone production for Fruitdealer, but mostly he's starting to switch over to army. He does have his macro hatchery complete. So I think we're going to see a lot of Zerglings come out of that. We're also going to have, of course, have a few Hydras. But I think he wants to wait and see exactly how much his opponent is going to be committing to that Stargate play, which, of course, this Overseer is... Of course, I say that now. He's scouting it out and sees that robotics bay. He sees this in production. So nice spotting right there. He's going to be able to cut power to the Stargate and even take out the Stargate, I think, if he tucks in there close enough. Yes, he will. And the Protoss, he will be able to respond, but he's got to be very careful. Those Hydras will rip these sentries to shreds if they get too close. You know, get 1 sentry too close, those Hydras will just burst it down in a second flat. Of course, now with this Colossus on the way, it is going to be quick runnings for Fruitdealer now, as he does control the middle of the map. Not watching the watchtower. It's okay at this point, though. I think he's fairly confident. He knows with these Zerglings parked up here, or this Zergling rather, he knows that his opponent is fairly well contained. He's watching this expansion over here as well. We do have, I think, was that... Okay, I'm like, wait a second, there's nothing on the mini-map. I didn't see anything come up here. But yeah, he's just going to knocking out those rocks. And as far as Fruitdealer's income is concerned, we see it's actually not that great compared to the Protoss, who does have a significantly higher worker count. We'll also be working on taking out the rocks as well. I think moving forward, he's going to have to be careful, though, because I think the Protoss, or the Zerg player, is going to try to do a very strong response to that Colossi, which we could see since that Spire's finished. We have several Mutas coming on the way. This Protoss army way out of position to do anything about this. Nice response, bringing away these probes. Again, GoSuGatored realizes that it's going to be a while before he can do any serious damage with the forces that he has. He does have a few Stalkers, but keep in mind, he does not have the Blink upgrade. Hallucination's on the way. I don't think we even have a Twilight Council right now, and it's just overall a very awkward position for our Protoss player. He wasn't quite equipped to deal with this Muta harassment, and I think Fruitdealer kind of played upon that. He realized, okay, well, if he's going to force me to go Hydra, and then he's going to counter that, well, it's going to take a lot of money to invest in that anti-Hydra style of play. We see, of course, 600 minerals, 400 gas, plus all it took with the structures for the Colossi there. The loss of those 2 sentries definitely not a good thing as well. A little bit of a late Guardian Shield, as he just does not have enough forces to deal any damage to this. You know, the Stalkers, I think he has a couple of them sitting up here guarding the mineral line, but the Muto's harassment down here is just phenomenal. He's keeping the Protoss army split. He's keeping the worker count down a little bit. We do have a Twilight Council finally on the way. Going to look to get that blink upgrade. But one thing I do want to point out is that looking around here at the natural and at the high yield expansion, notice one thing that's missing. We don't have any spore crawlers. None here either. So DT harass, obviously, you know, money's a bit tight for the Protoss right now, but if he can get to the later stages of the game, I think that'll be something that he can actually use to great effect, is just the surprise factor, hit all 3 bases at once with some DT, use a Warp Prism, he's already got the infrastructure for that, and I think losing his pylons more than anything is just going to cripple the Protoss player. Again, great play with the Mutos. You see light defense down here, nice Guardian Shield, but the loss of the Colossus there, that is really the Protoss bread and butter for dealing with that circling Hydra army that's just kind of idling up here. And as far as we go into the later stages of the game, I think that with the fact that so many more Mutos are on the way, the Protoss player is just going to be in a really awkward position. I don't really think he's going to be quite capable of dealing with this many Mutas, considering the fact that he's going to be so late with the blink. We have the Mutas, again, the high amount of mobility that we're seeing here. It's just going to run circles around GoSuGatored, who still does not have power here. He does have it here finally, but it's way too late to be committing to any sort of air-based anti-air, or air-to-air rather, such as Phoenix, and right now he's sticking with pretty much the only thing that he can, but so many Mutas, it's going to force that GG. That's pretty much all he could do at this point, and now we're going to bring game number 2 to a conclusion. Let's go on to game number 3 and see how it goes, man. I mean, like I said, Fruitdealer has done such a great job reading the Protoss, anticipating the moves. I think that you know, he's going to be poised to win this. But again, GoSuGatored, I think that he really can come out on top with this. We're just going to have to wait and see.